Hi, my name is Josh Gottry. Welcome to today's weekly lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the Bossa Nova. The Bossa Nova is a Brazilian style, but it is to samba and other more authentic Brazilian grooves that use extensive percussion collections of instruments, kind of like adult contemporary pop is to rock and roll. Both have elements in common, but the former Bossa Nova or the adult contemporary pop are certainly softened around the edges and made a little bit more mellow for a different listening ear. Bossa Nova was made popular by Antonio Carlos Jobim, who wrote dozens of songs for this style, this new Bossa Nova. So we're going to look at the basics of the groove and talk about a few tips and hints that might help you as you're learning the style and getting it around the drum set. So a couple things that are first and foremost. First, we're going to use an eighth note subdivision. Typically that's going to be played on the ride cymbal for a more legato or smooth sound because the Bossa Nova is a very relaxed legato approach. The hi-hat is only used for those eighth notes when we want a really soft and dry sound. So most of the time those eighth notes are going to be on the ride cymbal. So we start with the eighth notes on the ride cymbal. The next thing we're going to do is add the feet. And the feet are going to play, the bass drum's going to play kind of what's considered a heartbeat bass pattern, the boom, go, gum, go, gum. And the hi-hat's going to fill in on beats 2 and 4. So between the feet we get something like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. If we add that with the ride cymbal, and as you can imagine, if we added a backbeat 2 and 4 on the snare drum, we'd get something that was very similar to a laid-back rock beat. But that's where the difference between these two styles comes, is very specifically what we're going to do with the snare drum. So a couple things. First of all, I have the snares off on the snare drum. We're going to use a cross stick sound. So the tip of the stick is going to touch the head about an inch or two, depends on the drum, from the rim, and then the back end, where I normally hold the sticks, is going to strike the rim, creating a woody rim sound referred to as cross stick. So we're going to get something like that. And the snares off give it a little bit purer sound, so we don't have the buzz of the snares. With that, we just have that nice woody sound, emulating the claves, wooden stick instruments that are struck together. So we're gonna so we've got the three components already: the ride cymbal, bass drum, and hi-hat. And the snare drum, the cross stick, is going to play a clave of sorts. It's the Bossa Nova clave pattern, which is a slight variation on son clave, Cuban clave pattern. So son clave is a 3-2, 1, the end of 2-4, and then 2-3 in the second bar, something like this: 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, 3. So Bossa Nova clave takes that last note that's on beat 3 and pushes it to the end of 3. So it's a little bit more continuous. It's almost every third eighth note, with the exception of beat 4 in the first measure and beat 2 of the second measure, which are every 4 eighth notes. But everything else is once every 3 eighth notes. So we get this 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. That's the clave pattern. So we put those together in something like this. Okay. Now, putting that together takes a little bit of coordination. Every limb is doing something a little differently. Obviously, the eighth notes on the ride cymbal become a very good reference point for everything else that happens. The feet do work together in cooperation, in that they never play at the same time. So those can be very comfortably put together. But you layer over that clave pattern, and it becomes certainly a little bit of a challenge from a coordination standpoint. I recommend that when you're learning the Bossa Nova for the first time, that you add that clave pattern, that left hand pattern, one note at a time. So you'd start with just the right hand and the feet. Once you get that settled, go ahead and add just the first clave note. And it's every 2 measures, because it's a 2-bar pattern. Once that's comfortable, go ahead and add the next one. So we got 1 and the end of 2. Try and keep everything else really comfortable and relaxed. Add the next one. That's beat 4. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. That one and the next one are a little easier. 4, 2. Because they're right with the hi-hat. So that makes it a lot easier to coordinate that element. 1 and 4, 2. 1 and 4, 2. Notice those last two are right with the hi-hat. Once that's comfortable, we add the last one. 1 and 4, 2, and wait a measure or a couple measures. Try again. 1 and 4, 2, and. Now we'll go ahead and loop it with no interruption. And you get the idea. Once you get that pretty comfortable, you want to go ahead and start adding some variations. One thing you can do, of course, is to move the right hand to the hi-hat, keep it nice and light. The hi-hat will not open and close on 2 and 4, then we'll just make the 3 limbs. Right hand on the hi-hat, left hand on the cross stick, and right foot on the bass drum, something like this. If you want another variation, we can go ahead and take the stick out of our hand there in the right hand and go ahead and add a little shaker part. So this is a kashishi, and we'll go ahead and play what we had been playing on the right hand, but we'll just put it in the shaker. Okay, so we got check. And of course, as with any style, you want to go ahead and practice this at a variety of tempos, fast and slow. Most of the time, the Bossa Nova is going to be a moderate to slow tempo, so that's where you want to focus most of your practice. And certainly, pull up a couple tunes by Antonio Carlos Jobim, practice along with that, along with a metronome, to really get familiar with not just the tempo, but also how it typically sounds in ensemble. Good luck! Have a great week.